I am 95 years old. I raised 4 children on Birchwood Lane in Clearwater, Florida. I ran a bookkeeping business called Mathers Tax and Accounting for 37 years. I paid off my mortgage in 1998. I buried my husband, Walter. I buried my oldest son, Michael. And on a Tuesday morning in November of 2019, a woman I had never met walked into my doctor's office, sat down next to me, and told my doctor I was not competent to speak for myself. That woman controlled my life for the next 3 years. She sold my house, drained my savings, changed my medication, and made sure I was never alone with my own doctor. Not once. Not for a single appointment in 1,095 days. It started with my son, my boy, Michael James Mathers. He died on a Thursday night, March 14th, 2019. Heart attack. 58 years old. His wife Gina found him in bed the next morning, just gone. No warning, no goodbye. Michael lived 12 minutes away on Palmetto Drive. He drove me to Walgreens every Friday for my prescriptions. He took me to every appointment at Suncoast Medical Group on Gulf to Bay Boulevard. He came over Sundays with a toolbox. When he died, I lost more than a son. I lost the only person keeping my daily life running. My daughter Sharon lives in Bend, Oregon. My other 2 boys, Frank and Ray, are in Austin and Jacksonville. They called me every week. They loved me. But love from 1,500 miles away cannot pick up your heart medication or drive you to the cardiologist at 8 in the morning. So I struggled. I will not lie about that. After Michael passed, I forgot to pay my Duke Energy bill twice. The power got shut off for 4 days in August, right in the middle of a Florida heat wave. 93 degrees outside, and I was sitting in the dark with the windows open. I missed a cardiology appointment on September 9th because I could not find a ride. I stopped checking my mail because walking to the end of the driveway hurt my knees so bad I had to grip the porch railing on the way back. And that is when my neighbor, Judith Colby, at 1420 Birchwood, called Adult Protective Services. She told them she had not seen me outside in 2 weeks, and my mailbox was stuffed. She said she was worried. A social worker named Vanessa Briggs showed up at my front door 3 days later. No warning, no phone call ahead, just a knock at 10:45 in the morning. I was having a terrible day. My arthritis was so bad I could barely hold a coffee cup. I had not slept more than 3 hours. I was still in my robe because getting dressed hurt too much. Vanessa sat on my couch with a clipboard. What day was it? Who was the president? Could I name 3 objects she pointed at? I got flustered because a stranger was testing me in my own living room. I stumbled on one answer. I said it was Wednesday when it was Thursday. Within 6 weeks, Judge Thomas Harwell at the Pinellas County 6th Circuit Court signed an order appointing a professional guardian over me. A woman named Brenda Nolan registered with Guardian Alliance Services out of Tampa. I had never heard that name before, never seen her face. She walked into a courtroom on November 4th, 2019. a courtroom I was never told about, received a signed court order, and just like that, she controlled my money, my medical decisions, where I lived, and who I was allowed to talk to. I was 92 years old, and in one afternoon, I lost every right I had spent a lifetime earning. Brenda showed up at my house on Birchwood Lane 4 days later. Clipboard, leather folder, and a smile that did not reach her eyes. She told me she was here to help. Then she went through my bedroom dresser. She went through my Bank of America statements going back 6 months. She opened my refrigerator and wrote down that I had expired milk and leftover soup. She counted my pill bottles on the kitchen counter. And my children? Sharon did not find out until Thanksgiving week, 3 weeks later. She called me, sobbing from Bend. "Mom, why did you not call me?" I told her the truth. I did not understand what had happened. I thought Brenda was a temporary helper. I had no idea this woman now legally owned my life. I had a follow-up appointment with Dr. Alan Larson at Suncoast Medical Group on December 10th, 2019. I had been seeing Dr. Larson for 14 years. He delivered the news when Walter got his cancer diagnosis. He adjusted my blood pressure medication 4 different times until we got it right. He knew my history. He knew my mind was sharp. I got to the office at 9:15, and Brenda was already sitting in the waiting room by the front window. She stood up, took my arm, and walked me into exam room 3, like I was a child at the dentist. When Dr. Larson asked me how I was feeling, Brenda answered before I could open my mouth. She said, "She has been doing okay, some confusion at times. We are monitoring it closely." You cannot imagine that feeling. Sitting with your own doctor, a man who has known you for over a decade, and watching a stranger talk about your body like you are not there. I wanted to scream, but I was 92 years old and I did not know my rights. I tried to see Dr. Larson alone 3 different times, January 7th, March 3rd, and again in May. Every time the receptionist told me my guardian had to be present. Brenda had faxed paperwork to Suncoast listing herself as my legal medical representative. Without her in the building, they would not call my name. For 3 years, I never had a single private conversation with my own doctor. Not one. I take lisinopril for blood pressure, atorvastatin for cholesterol, and a low-dose naproxen for my joints, 1 naproxen a day. In February of 2020, Brenda told Dr. Larson to cut the naproxen because she believed I was too dependent on pain management. 1 pill a day, and she called it dependence. My knees got so bad, I stopped walking to the dining hall. I ate every meal alone in my room from February through July. And Brenda wrote in my chart that I was choosing to isolate and withdraw from group activities. The thing she caused became evidence against me. That is how the system works. Everything you do proves you need the system. Get angry, agitated and unstable. Cry, emotionally deregulated. Refuse to cooperate? Non-compliant. There is no way to win. Right now, 1.3 million adults in America live under guardianship. A Government Accountability Office report exposed more than $5 billion in guardian theft over 5 years. The American Bar Association called this system a last resort that too often becomes a first response. In January of 2020, Brenda moved me out of 1412 Birchwood Lane, the house I lived in for 41 years, the house where Walter built the screened-in back porch with his own hands the summer before his diagnosis. She put me in Bayshore Gardens Assisted Living on East Bay Drive and listed the house through Craig Voss at Gulf Coast Realty. I found out my house was on the market when another resident named Helen showed me a Zillow listing on her tablet. My house, my kitchen, my porch, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, quarter-acre lot, listed at $342,000. I called Sharon that night during my one allowed phone call. 15 minutes a day, that was all Brenda permitted. Sharon was already crying before I finished the first sentence. The house sold in 19 days to a couple from Ohio. The money went into a ward account at Regions Bank that Brenda managed. She paid herself from that account. Hourly rate, mileage from Tampa to Clearwater, administrative and coordination costs. By the time we got a lawyer, she had charged over $95,000 in guardian fees from my own savings in less than 2 years. She left behind Walter's Seiko watch, the one I gave him on our 25th anniversary in 1987. She left behind my photo albums from the 60s with pictures of Michael and Sharon as babies at Clearwater Beach. And she left behind a quilt my mother Rose stitched by hand in 1971, the year before she died of breast cancer. That quilt was on my bed for 30 years. When Sharon's lawyer asked about those items, Brenda's office sent a 1-paragraph letter. The belongings had been donated to Goodwill to reduce storage costs. Bayshore Gardens was clean. I will give it that. But my room, number 214 on the 2nd floor, was the size of a walk-in closet. A hospital bed, a particle board dresser, a 19-inch television mounted on the wall. That was my world now. My roommate for the first 8 months was a woman named Pauline who had severe Alzheimer's. She was 89. She would wake up at 3 in the morning screaming for her daughter Christine, and I would hold her hand and tell her it was okay. I was comforting a woman with a real cognitive condition while being treated like I had one too. I used to prepare taxes for 200 clients every spring at my office on Cleveland Street in downtown Clearwater. I balanced checkbooks in my head. I drove myself to Publix every Sunday for 40 years. And now I was sitting in a plastic recliner watching Wheel of Fortune with people who could not remember their own names. Not because I belonged there, because a stranger with a court order put me there. One nurse tried to help, Ruthie Desmond. She had worked at Bayshore for 6 years. She pulled me aside outside the dining room one evening in April of 2020 and whispered, "Dorothy, "Is everything okay with your guardian?" I told her everything. She looked horrified. She said she would file a report with the state. I never saw Ruthie at Bayshore again. The front desk said she was transferred. She asked one question about Brenda, and she vanished. My granddaughter Lily, Sharon's oldest, was getting married on June 20th, 2020, at a vineyard in McMinnville, Oregon. She called me in tears and asked me to come. She wanted me in the front row. She wanted me to watch her walk down the aisle with her father. I asked Brenda for permission to attend my own granddaughter's wedding. She said no. She emailed Sharon that travel was not medically advisable at this time, given Dorothy's age and care needs. She did not even offer a video call. Just no. I sat in room 214 that Saturday evening, knowing Lily was getting married without me. Jeopardy was playing down the hall, and I sat on the edge of my bed and cried until there was nothing left. Lily mailed me photos the next week. She was beautiful in her grandmother's pearl earrings. My pearls, the ones Sharon had kept safe. And I was not there. Something happened in late 2020 that blew everything open. Sharon flew to Florida in October to clean out Michael's apartment on Palmetto Drive. His landlord needed it back. She spent 3 days going through boxes in his spare bedroom closet. A durable power of attorney document, signed by me on April 8th, 2016, notarized at the UPS store on US 19 in Clearwater, naming Michael as my primary agent and naming Sharon as the successor agent if Michael could not serve. When Michael died, that document should have activated Sharon automatically, but nobody at the Pinellas County Court ever asked if I had a power of attorney. Vanessa Briggs never checked. Judge Harwell never asked. They skipped the one step that would have prevented all of this. If anyone had looked, Brenda Nolan would have never been appointed. My house would still be mine. My savings would still be in my account. My mother's quilt would still be on my bed. When Sharon's attorney later presented this document in court, Judge Harwell read it twice, flipped it over, looked at the notary stamp. Then he moved on to the next item on the docket. No apology. Nothing. Her system did not just fail me. It ignored the proof that I never needed it in the first place. Sharon saved me. She hired an elder law attorney named David Kwan out of St. Petersburg in January of 2021. It cost her $26,000 from her own retirement account at Fidelity, $26,000 to get her own mother back. David filed a petition in Pinellas County Court to remove Brenda Nolan and have Sharon appointed as my guardian instead. The court process took 14 months. Hearings, continuances, filings, delays. 14 months. And during every one of those months, Brenda was still in charge, still at my appointments, still managing my ward account, still billing me. She charged $9,200 in fees during the period my family was actively fighting to remove her. She billed me for the privilege of fighting her. The final hearing was March 7th, 2022. Judge Harwell reviewed Brenda's billing records and called them excessive but not fraudulent. He removed Brenda and appointed Sharon, but he did not order a single dollar returned. He did not sanction Brenda. He did not refer her to the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. Sharon looked it up after the ruling. Brenda Nolan is still a registered guardian with Guardian Alliance Services. She currently has 12 active wards in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. 12 people going through exactly what I went through. But the twist that still makes my blood boil? During the hearing, Brenda's attorney, Richard Gallo, argued that removing her would place Dorothy at imminent risk of self-neglect. She fought to keep me, not because she cared, because losing me meant losing $75 an hour from my money. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates that elder financial exploitation causes losses of $36 billion every year in this country, and guardianship courts in most states have no system to track how guardians spend their ward's money. Sharon drove me to Suncoast Medical Group on March 23, 2022. She helped me check in at the front desk. Then she sat down in the waiting room by the fish tank and stayed there. I walked into exam room 3 by myself for the first time in 3 years. He told me he knew something was wrong the entire time. He could see it in my face every appointment when Brenda answered for me. But Florida law required him to work with the court-appointed guardian. A doctor with 31 years of experience had to sit there for 3 years and let a stranger speak about my body. I cried in that room for 15 minutes, not because I was sad, because I was so angry I could not hold it in anymore, because that is the truth. If Sharon had not had the money, I would still be under Brenda's control right now. Or worse, I would have died at Bayshore Gardens with a stranger making my medical decisions until the very end. And Brenda would have billed my estate for the paperwork after I was gone. Professional guardians get paid by the hour. Every phone call, every form, every drive to the facility goes on the bill. And the bill comes from your money. They have zero reason to give you your freedom back. Every month you stay under their control is another invoice. The National Council on Disability called for the complete reform of guardianship in America. They found that once a guardian is appointed, the process is virtually impossible to reverse in many states. 1 in 3 guardianship cases reviewed showed evidence of financial exploitation. The average age of a person placed under guardianship is 78. 78. These are people who built this country. They worked. They raised families. They paid taxes for 50, 60 years. And the reward for growing old in America is that a stranger can walk into a courtroom and take everything from you. If you have an aging parent or grandparent living alone, do not wait. Set up a power of attorney now. Healthcare proxy now. File it with their doctor. Give copies to every family member. Because if you do not decide who speaks for your mother, a court will decide for you, and the person they pick will not love her. I stay alive because I am angry. I am angry this happened to me. I am angry that right now thousands of people are trapped in this system with no daughter to hire a lawyer. People in facilities with no visitors. People whose savings were drained. People who died under guardianship, and nobody even looked into it. If I could go back to that Tuesday morning in November of 2019, when Brenda Nolan first sat down in exam room 3 at Suncoast Medical Group, I would stand up. I would walk out. I would call my daughter. That is the worst part. They count on you not knowing. Every year, thousands of elderly Americans lose their basic rights through a system that was built to protect them. Guardianship abuse is one of the least reported crises in this country, and the people it hurts the most are the ones with the smallest voices.